Okay, so this is a review I didn't have planned, but Ted White, who played Jason in the final chapter, passed away over the weekend on Friday, actually. So, in memory of him, I'm going to review Friday the 13th, the final chapter. But first, talk a little about Ted White, who lived a very interesting life, to say the least. He was a World War II veteran, prolific stuntman. He was a stunt double on films like Creature from the Black Lagoon, so he's connected to the Universal Monsters. He even stunt doubled for John Wayne in a few movies, and from what I understand, one of them was one of my favorite movies of all time, Rio Bravo. He was a devoted grandparent, father, obviously. He actually was reluctant to do the final chapter because he didn't want his grandkids to see Jason killing people. And he was a total class act. There's a scene in this movie where Jason kills a girl in the raft. The actress was getting really cold, and the director wouldn't let her warm up. This made Ted White very angry, and he just told the director, look, if you don't warm her up between takes, I'm getting in my car, I'm driving to the airport, and I'm going home. So, yeah, he was also the kind of guy that would stand up for people. So, Ted White, rest in peace. Thank you for the memories, and much respect. This film picks up almost immediately after Friday the 13th, part 3. Jason's still in the barn. He gets taken to a morgue, kills the two people at the morgue, and goes on another part of his multi-day killing spree that started with Friday the 13th, part 2. This film centers around the Jarvis family, a mother, her daughter, and son, and a group of teens coming to party at the house next to them. I always took it that house was like, long-term to seasonal rental, and these guys probably just rented it for the summer because I can't see a group like that staying in a house for long. And Jason is making his way to this area. The kid, Tommy Jarvis, goes on to be one of the most famous characters in the franchise. He's kind of like a cross between this series equivalent to Dr. Loomis and this series equivalent to Laurie Strode. Good character. Corey Feldman played him really well. The kid was written to be believable as a kid. He's someone that's interested in movie special effects and customizes masks. The party kids are hit or miss on likability, but they're all there to get brutally murdered by Jason, so it works. And Ted White is my favorite Jason. His body language, the physicality he brings, he's more relentless than the previous incarnations of Jason, and he actually was offered the role in part 6, but he turned it down. He said in hindsight, if he knew how big these movies would become, no one else would have gotten a chance because he would have worked for free to keep playing Jason, but he did a great job. Could have been part 6, but like I said, he turned it down. So still, we got one film with the best Jason actor. No disrespect to the Kane Hodder fans, I just prefer White. And the film moves along at a good pace. You don't feel like you spend too much with any one character or group of characters at a time. And it just flows. And what's great is Jason does feel like he's present even when he's not around. He doesn't show up till a little bit later in the film when it's raining and there's a thunderstorm, which is one thing I like about some of these films. The fact that Jason's arrival is preceded by some kind of storm, it really sells him as a force of nature, which I like. It just makes Jason feel that much more intimidating and threatening. And this film actually has my favorite kill in the franchise, and it doesn't really show anything. One character's leaving, getting on her bike to go home, and we see a flash of lightning, and through the silhouette of the lightning strike, just her shadow, Jason impales her. That scene to me works so well because it's all theater of the mind. It shows you don't have to show everything, and I like when, especially in horror films, when it leaves it to theater of the mind and your imagination does the work for you. Tom Savini, who did the special effects for this, also directed the 1990 Night of the Living Dead remake. Great remake, check it out. But in the commentary for that, he talks about how the MPAA kept having him cut back on the gore, and he more or less said in hindsight he thinks that's a good thing, and he said this may sound weird coming from a special effects guy, but because it doesn't show so much, it lets the audience imagine it in their head. And he said, what the audience can imagine is more horrific than anything I can put on screen. And at this point, Jason, in the movie, he just goes on and he's methodically taking these characters out one by one. Very quick, very efficient. Grabbing people, throwing them out windows, stabbing them with corkscrews and hitting them in the face with meat cleavers. Ted White is just pure aggression in this film. When he sets his sights on a victim, it's going to be quick, and they're probably not going to know what hit them, let alone have enough time for it to register. And this is still when Jason was fast moving, and Ted White uses that speed. The other two Jason actors were great, but there was a element of clumsiness to both Jasons that is just gone in this, and it's another nice thing I like about this franchise. Each Jason actor acknowledges what was done before them and improves on certain aspects. So, even though it's clearly played by different actors, it still does feel like the same character in that sense. That you do see certain mannerisms and things carried over from actor to actor. It eventually comes down to a final showdown where Tommy Jarvis has to distract Jason. He finds a newspaper clipping that this one character had who was hunting Jason because Jason killed his sister, and he cuts his hair, which was set up in the beginning. His mother was telling him, you need a haircut. He cuts his hair, makes himself look like Jason, and that allows him to get distracted. His sister hits him with a machete. It goes through his eye, and he falls on it. Then Tommy sees the hand moving, grabs the machete, and just goes to town hacking away at him. And it ends on an ambiguous note saying that Jason's evil may have bled off into Tommy. This is tied for my second favorite Friday the 13th film with Part 6, so I'm obviously going to give it an A+. This review, like I said, it was done in memory of Ted White. I did not plan this, so obviously, again, this review is dedicated to the memory of Ted White. What are your thoughts on Friday the 13th, the final chapter? Do you like it? Not like it? Most people love it. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Rest in peace, Ted White.